Good afternoon. Today's Quikrete casting project, we're going to make a rain diverter to put on the end of your rain gutter to prevent erosion in your yard or lawn, whatever. And we're going to use Quikrete extra strength or high strength concrete mix and Quikrete place sand to use our molding project. We use a little bit of silicone and some pebbles or rocks to give it a little bit of decorative feature. Here I have pre-cut our mold out a little bit, just get a little head start here. But as you can see, I have a base plate of 25 inches. I have an intermediate mold of 24 inches approximately. And the biggest width is 14 and the back width is about 11.5 inches. And I've tapered it so it would give it a little rain diversion. So we're going to fill this with sand and some gravel, and then we're going to put an inverted concrete mix on top. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to attach this level of our diverter to the base of our mold. So I got preset, I had it marked already. I got two pre-hole drill holes to attach this with the screws. And check again, make sure we're straight. Quikrete is a great product to have fun with and make some interesting sculptures or shapes or whatever, and convenient projects for the yard. So we got that set up. Now I'm going to take a little bit of silicone and just give it an edge around here, just to help it, one, give it a little round edge, and two, to help it release a little bit easier and not leak underneath our center mold. And I don't think it has to real dry real well, just enough. We'll just get it started and we'll put a little bit of sand on it. It'll help to release it. And what I'm doing with my finger is just giving it a nice smooth edge. As you can see, I used a staple gun and some vinyl siding as my mold, part of my mold setup. Now we're going to take our side panels and place them in, put them in place, and they're gonna be a little bit offset. We'll do that, and it's just kind of do an eyeball thing or whatever. But what I decided I would do is that I would have the wall approximately 1 inch taller than the edge of this. So we'll get our measuring tape out. I'm gonna set it at 1 inch and give it a mark there. 1 inch, and as we go back it's going to get a little bit thicker, so I'm going to taper it back, because this is tapered back at a 3/4 inch slant. I'm just going to taper it all the way back to here. I'm just going to mark this bottom edge now that I got it where I want it. Got a mark on that bottom edge. See with the taper, I've cut these side panels at 4 inches, and then we're going to install that onto there. Using some screws, I'm going to line that up at the front edge, and I'm going to start a screw right there. Alright, grab another screw and we'll get the back edge lined up where we want it. We drew that line there. And we have a little bit of overhang in the back and the front. That'll be fine, because we're just going to use the back and the front will fit in between those two spots. And probably, I think 4 screws on each side is probably plenty. And then we'll put a little silicone on the inside edge of that also to help seal it a little bit. Yeah, check, make sure you didn't screw through your front of your project. That's that side. We'll flip it over, do it again on the other side. There. And now we're going to put a back on it and a front. To make it even with the top edge of our sides. I do have some of these holes pre-drilled, so it makes it a little bit easier going together. And the other end. Put a screw there. couple And the side panel will hold to there. On the other side it's good. Now to add the sand. This will build this area up and it'll give us a thicker bottom, so to speak. I'm using Quikrete play sand here. Pull a bunch of it in here and we'll build the center up. And we're going to embed the stone in it to give us our texture to the bottom. Like I said, we'll do a little sand around on that silicone to help it not stick to the concrete. And now I'm going to vacuum the extra sand I got around the edges out. And now I'm going to lay a barrier between the Quikrete sand, play sand, and the rocks, so the sand doesn't get up into our concrete mix, and it gives us a nice surface. And so we're just going to lay a piece of saran wrap there and try to create a little bit of a barrier. I don't think 100% coverage is required, but we're going to cover as much as we can up to prevent a sand commingling with the concrete itself. I think most of the rocks will cover most of the area, so I think that'll be enough to cover that. And it can stick out the end. I don't think it's going to bother our casting at all. Okay, placement of your stones. So you can make a design, you can make your favorite school symbol, whatever. Try to just kind of embed them in the sand a little bit. If you want the good side looking up, that would be facing down at this point. And probably the flatter the better. Ones that are thick I'm not going to use, real thick anyways. And a nice even bed of rock. I think we're pretty good there, and we'll have a little bit of concrete showing through, but not a lot. And like I said, we push them down in there and get you a good foundation. Alrighty, so it recommends that you wet your form a little bit before you put your concrete in. So I'm gonna put a little water on there. Oops, I need some. On the rocks. I'm also going to come back in here and spray a little bit of silicone and help release. We don't want to release the rocks, we want to release the boards and the vinyl siding. I think we're ready to mix some concrete. So we'll get our 50-pound bag of Quikrete. We'll put it in our wheelbarrow. I've got 2 quarts of water. And I've got some mixing gloves. I'll mix it by hand, and it can burn your hands a little bit, so be careful. So we're going to mix in our 2 quarts of water. And if you make a bigger one than this, you probably have to go to the 80-pound bag. But I think a 50-pound bag will be fine for what we're making today. That's pretty good. We're going to let it sit for about 4 or 5 minutes and let it slack. Okay, we're getting ready to pour our Quikrete casting in just a minute here. But what I want to do is just go back around our form and make sure we don't have any big lumps of sand or rocks or pebbles that may have dropped in there while we're laying them in there. So I got a little bit extra sand and some pebbles I got rid of here just a second ago. So we're going to pull out that so we get a nice smooth look. And now we're going to pack our Quikrete mixture into the mold. So the first thing I do is kind of I don't want to mush all the rocks out of place, so I'm going to lay a bed on top of there first. That way we are not losing where they were. After you got that in place, start working it in down around the edges. And the more you work it down in there, less bubbles you're probably going to have. Back too hard, you'll put your form out of shape. Okay, as you can see, we got our mold pretty full here. I've just been kind of packing it in. And now it's a good idea to take a hammer, and some people say you could take a vibrating sander and just kind of go all the way around. and helps settle the Quikrete down into place and work out some bubbles, we hope. I think we packed it pretty good as we went. Now I'm going to use a board and strike off the excess. So we get a flat bottom. You can start at one corner, go on a little bit of an angle, and just work it across. It's called screening. If you get a little void, you can just go back and put a little spot there maybe if you need to. And screen off the excess. We'll pull off the excess, put it back in the mixing bucket. I'm going to work back the other way a little bit. And finish screening this off. Let it set up for about 20 or 30 minutes. I'm going to take an edging tool to the bottom edge. Alright, it's been about 15-20 minutes, and I'm going to take an edging tool, concrete edging tool, and finish our Quikrete casting project, our rain diverter. What I'm going to do is just working along the edge and keep one end up a little bit, and it's just going to give you a nice little round edge. And there we go. And if you need to, just give it another swipe. I'm going to get to the other end. I'm going to go the other direction a little bit to finish that corner off. That's pretty good. Oh, I've got a little swirl there. Go across the back. Push down in and then come back the other direction, lift up, and down the side. Okay, now we're going to let it sit for probably 2.5–3 days. So I'm going to put a cover over it and let it sit overnight, and spray it with some water tomorrow and the next day, and then the third day we will uncast this thing and give it a look and see how we did. Here we are back at our casting project for our rain diverter using our Quikrete high strength concrete mix, and today we're going to unform our thing and see how our project turned out. So I'm going to release the form by moving the screws. It's been sitting for 3 days. This is a great outdoor project. I love to be outside and working with tools and wood and whatever, and Quikrete. You know, we get our Quikrete fix here doing these kind of projects. And we'll turn it over now, and we're going to move the insert out of our project. That's the paint from the pre-finished plywood I used. It's stuck to it, and I did spray some silicone on it, and that may have caused it to release from the board. So the board is looking pretty tight, so I'm going to cut a strip right down the center, or a couple strips down the center to relieve it, so we don't have to break our mold. So let me use a skill saw. I'm going to put my hearing protection on. I've set my blade to just under 3/4 inch to accommodate for the thickness of the material. And as you notice, I didn't cut all the way to the end to make sure I didn't hit the concrete. So now we're going to try to pop it loose. See, we've got some play here, and we will make sure we won't break our, hopefully won't break our mold. And it comes out in little pieces, so that you sacrifice this piece, but it's worth it if you get a good project and you don't break it. And you could use 2 pieces or 3 pieces, and you kind of made them together for this if you wanted to, and that would be serve the same purpose. There it comes. That's the vinyl siding sticking down on that edge, so might take a little bit to get that out. Should have probably brought a pliers out here to do that. So it's coming out fairly easy. Pry bar makes it easier. And it's probably a good spot to have a pliers to pull this up and out. Okay, so it got it all out. It was sticking a little bit, but we did work it out. I used a couple other tools, pliers, and kind of work it out. So now I'm going to use the grinder on a die grinder and just kind of clean this paint off, round the edges a little bit, and we'll clean it up, and then we'll rinse it with some water and we'll see what it looks like. Hearing protection again, just for safety. All right, so you get the idea. It cleans up good. You can use a angle grinder with a cement cutting disc, or clean it up with that. If you got, like I said, any rounded rough edges or cuts or over pores, whatever, you can grind off with that. Next thing we're gonna do is I'm gonna get a hose and we're gonna rinse this thing out and see how it looks. Okay, now we're gonna rinse it off and see what our rock collection turned out to be. I got a couple loose ones there, but this Quikrete held these rocks in place real well. I got a couple loose ones. And I think it's ready to put in place. Okay, now we're gonna slide our rain diverter in. Actually a moisture diverter at this point for this one. For our air conditioning unit to wick or get the water away from the foundation here. Let me make this a little shorter. Rain diverter in place, or moisture diverter. And I'm going to take you around the other side of the house and show you the other one we made for the rain gutter. All right, here's another version of our rain diverter. Actually hooked to a rain gutter to drain the water away from the foundation. We're using the Quikrete product. Very nice piece with the rocks and everything. A little bit different from the other one, but saves a certain purpose. And I made it a little bit bigger so it would push the water further away from the house. And this will hold up to hurricanes that we have here in Florida, and it should not float away or blow away.